Hello everyone and welcome to the NPC Dungeon. Today I have a bit of an interesting story. It follows my players in my current campaign as they undergo a bit of an unexpected combat. It won't be very long, but I hope you still enjoy it. Anyway, let's get started. So what happened? Last time we saw how my players robbed a train. Well, shortly after, they met back up with their patron and received their pay, but the dwarf Copper had another reason for calling this group in particular. One of the members, an ooze named Gum, was loosely connected with the Slime Liberation Front, a group bent on returning the lands that the city of Volgoldir was built on to the oozes who had previously inhabited it. After the job, he wanted Gum to put in a good word for him, as he identified with their cause and wanted to help. So Gum took this literally as always and disappeared from the party without telling anyone, while they were all out shopping, and spoke with the Displacer, a pale ooze hunter known for hunting the panther-like beasts of the same name, and high-ranking member of the Slime Liberation Front. During their conversation, the Displacer informed Gum that the ooze population of Volgoldir was beginning to dwindle, and they wanted the group to investigate why. Meanwhile, the rest of the group were haggling over potions with a gnomish shopkeeper named Rubblecounter, at least that was his last name. He was always changing his first name and rewriting his shop sign, which was now covered in scribbles. The group asked this elderly gnome if he had anything a little more lethal. Rubblecounter glanced around him and then scurried further back into the shop before anyone else had a chance to interject. Just when they thought he must have gotten lost or something, he returned with a large bag of explosives which he slammed onto the table. The party flinched before regaining their composure. Most of the items were run-of-the-mill, but one, he explained, would be unforgettable. He was a little secretive about what it did, but the players bought it and moved on anyway. And it wasn't long before they ran back into Gum, and since they had some time before their next job, they agreed to help look around. Apparently, many of the oozes who lived there had recently fled the city in search of work. There was word that there was work out in the wild lands outside the boundaries of Volgoldir, but no one was sure of what kind. And before anyone knew it, Gum had disappeared once again, but this time they had an obvious guess as to where their companion might have escaped to. So they made their way to the cave mouth west of the city and ventured inside. They traveled for a while before coming across a wide open cavern with the remnants of mining equipment and a big hollow crater embedded partially into one of the walls, but no sign of Gum. They all began looking around, all including V, who rolled a natural 1 on the check, so she stumbled into one of the darker corners of the room and turned around, making out 3 pairs of eyes staring back at her. She tried to scramble out of the way, but was just a second too late as one of them lashed out at her. The rest of the party turned around as 3 dark purple, 6-legged, panther-like creatures stalked out of the alley holding V in their grasp, Displacer Beasts. They waited for a fight as a whistling sounded overhead just before Gum came careening down out of a previously unseen tunnel leading straight up through the ground and up through the cave, way up to the surface, a surface that no one had seen in millennia, betrayed by the tiny ray of light shining down from it. And as Gum plummeted, their form grew and grew, and they began to transform into the image of a giant lizard as they flattened one of the Displacer Beasts threatening the group. But as they looked up at their slimy friend, something wasn't right. It looked as though there was a battle beginning to be waged behind their eyes, and indeed there was. Gum's lizard form was beginning to take over the mind as well. The images of their friend shifted until the game that Gum hunted appeared instead. Gum lashed out, lunging forward and biting at Cleo. The reptilian jaws clamped down on her legs and lifted her into the air as one of the beasts leapt onto Gum's back. V tried stabbing at the creature, but it was no use, and she could swear she heard it laughing. Lila strummed at her guitar, casting Thunderwave and blasting the monster's back, giving V her chance. She wriggled just out of the creature's grasp and rolled away as a dart came flying in and connected with Gum's new form. Gum shrieked in pain and rage, dropping Cleo, who limped out of the way, taking a slash from a Displacer Beast as she did so. But she was too worried about the bite to care, the bite of a lycanthrope. Meanwhile, V and Lila looked up to see where the shot had come from, and high up and far away was a pale ooze holding a crossbow aimed right at the beasts. It wasn't long before the party became overwhelmed as their options dwindled. Then Cleo remembered something. The device Rubblecounter had sold them. She armed it and lobbed it at the center of the beast as they closed in. She braced for the explosion, but it never came. Instead, she turned her head to see purple smoke and an illusory projection of Rubblecounter himself, barely dressed and dancing? But she was even more surprised to see the 3 Displacer Beasts frozen and staring at the thing in unabashed awe. At this, the party shrugged and took their chance running away. They had to leave Gum behind, but they also had to have a serious talk with Rubblecounter, and that's where that one's going to end. I hope you found it entertaining, and thanks so much for watching. Come back next week if you want to hear me talk about party-like encounters, and if you want to hear more about this story. Thanks again for watching. Feel free to check out the 2 videos that'll be appearing on your screen shortly, and until next time, let's learn something.